Hi there, Zam here for NoTube. These are my thoughts and spoilers of Season 1 of 1923, A Yellowstone Story. So I hope you guys have been watching the original Yellowstone series because this is a prequel to that series. And there are some things in the scenery that resembles the original series, stuff that you know that will be more developed over time in the original series because this is obviously a prequel series. I'm saying that word series quite a lot. In this show we do get three storylines that we tend to follow. They're all very interesting. Two of them are kind of intertwining, the other one really isn't, but it's about maybe characters that we're all familiar with, and it's their forefathers, so to speak. Jacob Dutton, played by the legendary Harrison Ford, as well as Helen Mirren playing Cara Dutton, are a couple. And these two have actually played a couple in the past. They were husband and wife in a movie called Mosquito Coast. So to see them together again is really cool. And they are the Dutton family at this particular period, the head of the Dutton family. They have other family members beneath them, their nephews and nieces. They've taken them on board, made them those family members their own, to keep the Duttons together, so to speak. They are kind of like surrogate parents and grandparents to all the other Duttons. Harrison Ford playing the sort of role that he usually plays, this sort of gruffled, rough but maybe heart of gold type of character. You know, instead of get off my plane, like he would say in Air Force One, he's get off my ranch, like he's doing in this show, because everyone wants a piece of that Dutton Yellowstone ranch. And one of those people happens to be Timothy Dalton, playing no longer James Bond, but a Bond villain, so to speak. He's playing a character called Donald Whitfield, who happens to be the original corporate billionaire arsehole who wants the Dutton Ranch. He wants the Yellowstone because it's full of resources that he can mine the fuck out of. And one of the people that he has helping him, sort of like his henchman, so to speak, is a character played by Jerome Flynn called Banner. Banner is a Scotsman who's had some of his sheep graze on the Dutton's land, and him and Jacob Dutton have got into a lot of beef, and so he hates Jacob Dutton, so he's now working for Donald Whitfield. They both have the same enemies. Now, outside of that storyline, we follow a character called Spencer Dutton. He's one of the younger Duttons who's gone to Africa to be a big game hunter. Some of the early episodes of this show kind of reminds you of that movie, The Ghost and the Darkness, with Val Kilmer and Michael Douglas, because Spencer Dutton is hunting leopards instead of lions, who happen to be killing a lot of people because they got a taste of man flesh. And whilst he's out in Africa, he meets a young British woman who happens to be some sort of not initially in line sort of member of the royal family, but somebody who's related to the royals to a degree, who's sort of high class society. She's she's a young sport rich girl. He's a rough, rugged man of the land, quiet type. They're opposites who are attracted to each other, and they become a couple. They get married on the boat and everything. And they do go back to Montana because once Spencer Dutton hears that his family are under siege by the Whitfields, he has no choice but to go back. But this is 1923. He can't just fly back. He has to go back by ship, and it will take him weeks, maybe months, to get back to Montana. And that in itself is an adventure of its own. And some of the shenanigans him and Alexandria, his wife, get up to is really interesting, as well as seeing some of the plains of Africa and some of these other parts of Europe and North Africa during that particular time. You know, it's really nice to see these period settings and what will eventually be the future of those period settings when you hear names like the Mussolini and the Mafia when they go to Sicily and stuff like that. It's really cool. I love it. Now, one of the other sort of storylines we get is following Tiona Rainwater. Now, Rainwater was the guy who owns the casinos in Yellowstone, so this probably is maybe his great-grandmother or something along those lines. And she's in a Catholic school with other Native American girls being forced to follow the Catholic religion by some horrible nuns and priests who are treating all the girls there like fucking shit. She does fucking fight back against them with that raw spirit of hers where she doesn't want to take shit from anybody. She does get fucked over as well in the process, but eventually she does escape and she's on the run. Now, she does meet fellow Native Americans who do take her in, but because the bad guys are after her as well, and the bad guys being Catholic priests, there are a lot of collateral damage, unfortunately, on both sides. when it comes to trying to get back to the rainwater, and it's tragic, it's sad. At the same time, you're feeling, yeah, fuck those fucking Catholic priests, because they are coming across as real evil motherfuckers in this show. And there's other things in this show that really, triggers your heartstrings, because you realize that this is, a period where things haven't modernized yet, even though modernization is coming to this time period. But for instance, like interracial marriage, it's not allowed in 1923. And one of the Dutton's sort of loyal men is a guy called Zane Davis, and he happens to have a wife who's Chinese, and because they're married and they have kids and stuff, it's against the law when the law finds out about it, and it's really horrible when you see that scene play out. And sorry, I do apologize. So there's all manners of things that are happening in this timeline that picks on your nerves and pisses you off. But at the same time, there's also a lot of fascination, because it is 1923. The Wild West era has pretty much come to an end. Modernization is coming to Montana. We're getting electricity. We're getting water coming through pipes. Gas coming through pipes. These are all modern things that we kind of take for granted now, but they were just coming to the surface in this particular time period. And seeing like these old cowboy hands, having to adjust to this new way of life is also really fascinating as well. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. I'm thoroughly enjoying all the series. I'm enjoying all the characters. There's so many big actors in this. Like there's Robert Patrick in this. I already mentioned Timothy Dalton and Harrison Ford and Helen Mirren, Jerome Flynn, James Badgedale, who surprisingly is not in this show as long as he should be, considering he's been in so many things. Jennifer Ellie, who plays one of the crazy fucking nuns, she's in this as well. There's some maybe recognizable faces like Sebastian. Let me make sure I don't butcher his surname. Roche, who plays this hard ass Catholic priest. It's just a great show, and I actually appreciate this show a lot more than the original Yellowstone series, because being in this time setting, things are a lot more raw. None of that bureaucratic bollocks that you do get in Yellowstone at this particular time. Some things were settled with a gun and fucking hanging people and shit like that. The old-fashioned way, but that old-fashioned way is kind of colliding with the new way, and it's interesting to see all of that. It's a great show. I would recommend, obviously, watching Yellowstone first. There's 5 seasons of it, so it can't be that bad. I do recommend it. It's a great TV series. But once you've done with that and you've finished binging the fuck out of that, watch this. And now I'll be watching the other Yellowstone show. I think it's called 1883 or some shit like that, with Sam Elliott. I can't wait to start watching that. I'm going to probably watch that as soon as I fucking finish this review. So what am I going to give you 1923? I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. Fantastic series. I can't wait to continue it. I do feel that the way the series ends doesn't necessarily feel like a natural season 1 ending. Like some of the storylines, they still feel like we're in the meat of it. They don't necessarily feel like they've come to a conclusion. So I want more from this series in season 2 to fulfill my needs from what I'm watching, because they can't. Some of these actors are not young either. Like Harrison Ford's in his 80s. Timothy Dalton's in his fucking 70s. Helen Mirren, she's obviously maybe knocking on 80 herself. Like, yeah, get this fucking show, season 2 on the road before these legendary actors get too old. Robert Patrick himself is no fucking spring chicken too. He looks fucking old, looks nothing like the fucking T-1000 from 30 something years ago. So yeah, get these guys into season 2 immediately. Get this fucking series filmed. Taylor Sheridan, who's been making all these amazing shows for Paramount, just once again knocked out the park. He's done it with Yellowstone, he's done it with Tulsa King, he's done it with this series. Right now, the guy's got the Midas touch. Yeah, once again, 9 out of 10. If you don't already know, now you do. So, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you never heard of. Take care, bye-bye, and we'll see you next time.